Hi, my name's Courtney Pham. Welcome to the SEPAC, also known as the North Andover Special Education Parent Advisory Council meeting. Um, Today is Monday, February 13th, 2023, and it is 7:05 p.m. I'm going to call this meeting to order. I want to make sure my board's here. So Sasha, you're here. Megan's here. Rachel's here. Marcy's here. I'm here. Do you want to do introductions? Let's start with Rachel.
Hi, Rachel Anastasia. I am your Educational Resources Chair for the North Andover SEPAC. Good evening.
Megan?
Hi, I'm Megan O'Neill, and I am the Secretary of the North Andover SEPAC.
Sasha?
Hi, Sasha Weinrich, Vice Chair. And I know Megan said it earlier to us, but we didn't have volume on yet. She is our secretary, so she takes notes. So if you see her on her phone, she's taking notes on her phone for us for this meeting, which is, I think, really important to note. So thank you so much for your work during the meeting, Meg.
I'm Courtney. I'm the head chair of NACPAC. And Marcy, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Marcy Bacuzzi. I'm the Director of Special Education.
All right. So we have to vote on our minutes tonight for January. So do I have a second? We have it linked in our agenda on Facebook, just so everyone knows.
Oh, I was just going to ask, is there an use? Okay.
Yep.
So do you need a motion, Courtney?
Yes.
Great. So I move that we approve the minutes from the meeting on January 9th, 2023, as written in the Google document. And just note, I did make a couple non-substantial changes, just noting folks and adding Meg, who attended late, if that's okay with everyone, just to make sure that you guys are okay with those changes.
That's fine.
So I made the motion.
Second.
Third, second. What number do I say? Sorry.
Yeah. So, and then we do all those in favor.
All those in favor. Yay.
Aye.
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 Great.
Hey, Lisa.
Sorry for the yes, I'm coming. No, I'm not coming. Yes, I'm coming. No, I'm not coming.
It's
been one of
okay.
those days.
Oh, good. This is Lisa. She is from the North Andover Parent Resource Network.
Hi, everyone.
All right. Let me just see. All right. Actually, if you want to go give an update, Lisa, that'd be awesome.
That would be great because then I can get to the other stuff I have to take care of at the house. So, Katie, I'm so glad you asked about Katie Greer earlier because I completely forgot because I'm like, oh, check that box. We're done. We hosted Katie Greer last Wednesday. Seems like an eon ago. It was a year in the making, but we teamed up with the middle school and she came and talked at the middle school to the 6th graders and the 7th graders and then the 8th graders and then the teachers and then the parents. And it was awesome. I had a great time and it was really fun to finally meet her. I counted 66 parents there, but I know we had more because I kept missing people and it's really hard to count. So I would safely say we had at least 70, which I was disappointed, but at the same time, Katie and George turned to me and they're like, oh no, this is good for an evening program with parents. So we'll take it as a win. So that was great. I was trying to get her into the high school. Chet presented it to the student council. They're not really as into it, but on the good side, they're into working on mental health. They're going to try to find someone to talk about your mental health and your digital mental health. And I think they're going to try to bring someone into the high school this spring or next year for this. So different person, but I think similar topics. So win-win.
I think what was also good, Lisa, is which was kind of I didn't realize this was happening till last minute, is that Principal Gonsalves allowed his teachers to attend as a professional development, which was like the day after too. So they were really psyched about that. So I think there was participation on that end.
And they asked a lot of great questions too. It was,
Yeah.
were you there? Did I see you there?
I was at no, because I was at another PD.
Okay, I thought I saw you there, but I think I was mixing you up. You know, the glasses.
Yeah.
So, oh, there's not. Oh, so if you have seen the Facebook post with all the details, the information, share it because she had a lot of really good information in there, and I uploaded a lot of links on our site and other resources that not only did she share with me, but the middle school. God, what is his name? The one who runs that the digital department at the middle school, he shared with me a lot of links. So there's a whole bunch of stuff up there. So if you have that email, share it, or if you see the Facebook post, share it because it's got a lot of good info in there. Back to the high school. NAPRN is also going to team up with the Mental Health Advisory Club, which I didn't know existed at the high school. Chat was telling me that they formed this group and they're trying to do some things for mental health awareness. And so we're going to kind of partner up, which is huge. The other good news, I have so much good news. The other good news is that the youth center has just hired a social worker. This is in response to anxiety kind of ticking up at the youth center. Rick has noticed a lot more of this coming in the door on a daily basis, and they're struggling to keep up. So they hired the social worker to help the kids, but they're trying to also work with the parents and get some programs created. So she and I are working on stuff. We're going to meet the end of the week and talk about more good things. So that's another piece of good news. And then finally, and then you guys can do your thing. We have our next programming. We are turning the tables on the parents. And I think if you guys were at the Katie Greer thing, I announced this, that we're doing, we're bringing in someone who's my neighbor, and she is a psychiatrist, but works on more the holistic side of things. So she works with meditation. She works with slowing down, basically making sure you slow down so you can be more in the moment and calm yourself down. So when your batteries are charged, you can parent better. So I'm trying to work with the library to book a room in there. That's going to happen either March 7th, 8th, or 9th, but it's going to be an evening program, 7 o'clock. I think at the end of it, if time allots, we're actually going to try to meditate for a few minutes so people can just experiment with it because they've never done it. And then the next month, we have Christine from Nature's Pace taking 10 parents on a nature bathing hike, which is awesome. I will tell you, you just bathe in nature and you kind of just cleanse yourself and you feel the energy from nature. So those are our 2 programs this spring, and then we're done for the year.
That sounds great. Good job, Lisa.
It's exciting. So if you guys can come. The nature hike is during the day, and then we're balancing that with the evening program at night. So hopefully someone can hit one of those.
I like the meditation one. I might try to come.
Oh yeah, it should be great. She's amazing. I've done a class with her before, and she just talking to her is calming. So I can't imagine what it's going to be like to have this back and forth talk about what meditation does to you and how it helps.
Who is it?
Maureen, you know, she's a friend of mine. What?
McGoran.
Thank you. I
Maureen
can never
McGoran.
pronounce her last name, McGoran, or yeah.
She's a
great.
good friend of mine too, and she's one of my clients and taught me meditation, and she's amazing.
Yeah. So if you can come.
She's so excited. Yeah.
So McGoran, right? Okay. I always mix up her last name, but she's great.
Lisa, I happened to see it, and just to keep your eyes on it, I don't see it on their website yet. I happened to, when I came in tonight, Channel 5 News was on, and they had one of their medical, like mental health, someone from Mass General, I believe it was, and they must have compiled, they're doing, they are presenting, I'm assuming it's the SBIRT, like the screenings that schools do yearly through middle school and high school. and it's all the compiling of the mental health data from school age children. And so there was a report on it, and I didn't catch the whole thing, but it was on Channel 5, and they're like presenting the results of that data. So just if I see it, I'll send it to you. But something I was looking for it. It isn't on their website yet, but I'm sure it will be on soon. So that will have a lot.
I was just reading that article. They have it in the Washington Post.
Oh, okay.
The study did just come out, and it's
It's
huge.
pretty frightening. Yeah.
Yes, so scary. And so teaming up with the youth center is a huge thing. So we're going to have parent programs. We still don't know what this looks like yet, because we're trying to figure out what their target market is, and my target market is much more vast because we cover the whole school system. So we'll definitely figure it out. But I think hitting both the kids and the parents, it reinforces at home what they're learning in the youth center. And then if the parents can get the education, I mean, it makes sense, but it's scary. That article was incredibly scary.
All right.
So if you guys don't mind sharing stuff.
Yeah,
it would be
definitely.
great.
I was excited when I saw your meditation thing on Facebook. I was like, yes.
Yes. I'm working on the flyer right now, because in passing, as I walked by my computer earlier, the word meditation looked like medication. And I'm thinking, ooh, if I just saw that, other people are going to see that. So I got to figure that piece out. So we'll get there.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. Do you mind if I pop off? I'm sorry. I'm in the middle of a bunch of
Thank you for coming.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye, guys.
Bye. Marcy, if you want to do your update, you're on mute.
Thanks, Courtney. I don't have too much tonight. The thing that we are, going to be in the thick of post-February vacation is ESY planning. So I've met with Rick Gorman. We have posted for our summer fund positions. We're interviewing for those March 1st. We have counselors that have also expressed interest, our guidance counselors, to rework at summer funds. One, the same thing that Lisa, we've had guidance counselors, elementary and from the high school and from the elementary schools, working consistently outside of the regular staff, but just to support all students at summer fund for the same reasons that Lisa was talking about earlier. So that's something we're going to continue with Rick. His staff is awesome, and they do handle a lot for what they have, but it's been a great addition to have those counselors there. And then post-February vacation, we start looking at, it's really our kind of final push at looking at regression data for students. So not the following week after February vacation, but the week after that, we meet to look at the regression data and starting to look at the numbers for summer programming and summer tutoring and summer opportunities. So the next meeting, or probably the April meeting, I'll have some more specifics around what that's looking at, because March we pretty much dive into it. The goal is to have that information out to families by the second week of May. It obviously won't be complete because there's still meetings going on by then, but hiring is the postings for the staff will go out after February vacation. And so we'll start looking at opportunities from there.
All right. Rachel, you have a question?
I do. Marcy, do you have your dates for
Oh yeah, sorry.
4-week programming?
Yeah, we're going to start 7/10. I went back and forth around, so it's we have 5-week and 6-week programming.
July 4th is like weird.
I know.
It's like
really
right in the middle.
And I honestly,
it's so hard to start.
And I honestly toyed with
week.
I honestly toyed with starting the last week of June and then taking the first week of July off, because I just think it's just, we have such low numbers during those weeks.
I know. I think it's the right thing to go the 10th, because then you at least push into August and you don't have the bigger gap on the other end, honestly.
And that's what people were feeling. And summer fun starts at 26. So just so people for the audiences, and we're going to be much clearer about this, summer fun, as far as what the district provides for summer one, is a 5-week program. So Rick's ask for us is always, he likes to get so they're starting on the 26th. So summer fun for North Andover students that we're providing summer fun for will start that week of, so he's on the week of the July 4th, except they're only closed on the 4th. So that will be the 5 weeks that North Andover will provide staffing for summer fun students. He likes to get his staff started. He likes to get the groups done. He likes to make sure the groups are okay. And then he integrates our students into those groups.
Megan,
And then the 10th, sorry, just to follow up to my first question, the 10th is when academic programming will start, and that's 4 weeks, 5 weeks, or 6 weeks?
It's 5 weeks for tutoring and 6 weeks for programs.
Perfect. And half day for programs?
Half days, yep.
And do
4
you do 5 days or 4 days?
4
Which
days.
days off? 4
Right.
days?
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
I can give you guys all those write-ups too.
Yeah, just so we're
Yep.
communicating the right stuff. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Megan? You're on
Okay,
mute.
I got it. Sorry. I think you were talking about the staff, but when you said you like the students we provide summer fun for, did you mean the staff like support, or do you
Yeah, because students who we're providing summer, yeah, so it's students who we're providing staff for summer fun for.
Gotcha.
They're 5 weeks. It's the same. We're gonna, often it would align the 5 weeks would align. That's what it usually does in years past. But no matter what, because there's always some level of confusion about it because summer fun starts the week before. And so no matter how many times we say it, there's always some level of confusion about it. So we're just going to try to be really, really I'll give it to you guys. We'll post it because people see, you see postings for summer fun outside of school and people get emails about it. And so innately somebody shows up and honestly, oftentimes Rick absorbs it and it's okay, but we don't want to set up a bad situation for anybody either. So.
So that misinterpretation is usually that somebody thinks that summer fun is summer school, essentially.
They think that summer fun dates are all of the 6 weeks. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I just
So in years past, honestly, before I got here, they used to do it, but they used to try to really align it with summer. So they did 4 days instead of 5 days. And that would seem silly to do anyways. So there's been different variations of it. Again, the only thing, and I totally understand and agree with Rick around getting started, because it's the most beautiful organized chaos I've ever seen in my entire life of what Rick runs at Summer Fun. So it's just a matter of it being a more stable sort of environment for the kids. And they oftentimes have lots of kids start the first week, less on the second week. So it just is easier to integrate students in the staff. So the staff go to all the trainings. So they go to the summer fun trainings and we provide training for them in those weeks as well.
Sasha?
Sure. Can we back up so that folks watching may be a little bit more clear about what exactly perhaps the children who are afforded the summer services at Summer Fun, or what that had historically looked like?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Sorry. I just don't want to forget. And then alternatively, what other ESY services are generally offered if your child isn't eligible for that Summer Fun program. And then thirdly, when parents should expect to be offered this and when they should be expected to be offered transportation.
So this summer, any parent can go to Summer Fun. Any parent can, sign this child up for Summer Fun. The public school, similar to community programs, has a memorandum of understanding with Summer Fun. So there's two kind of things that happen. The primary sort of baseline when we think of tier 1, just like we do in schools, is that we're always going to provide, with an understanding with Rick, some level of supports for any student whether they're identified by the school district as a program or not. So they might not be a student that we have recommended for Summer Fun, but they might be a situation where this grouping might work a little better, or you might want to be in a smaller group, or a group with a check-in every so often to make sure, because there's been social issues. So we support with Rick like that too. So I think of as tier 1 interventions. So Summer Fun is recommended for students who we are looking to have carryover of a social pragmatic sort of goal. So it is being able to having some level of concern about regression of social skills or social pragmatics that's worked on in this language that I can also share with you guys that's in the IEP. So it's worked on in a pro-social environment with oversight from a BCBA, a school counselor, with training TAs are trained by BCBAs and school counselors. It's typically about a dozen students. So students who really explicitly are needing that kind of ongoing work with that social communication aspects of it. So that's discussed in any team meeting. Transportation is discussed and should be discussed at the time of the team meeting. It's part of any summer programming. We talked about that. That was brought up to me pretty early on, that there was some concerns about parents not understanding or hearing about transportation in a timely manner. So we've talked about that all along with the ETLs from the start of this year, making sure that parents understand that that is a piece of it. Again, a lot of parents don't elect in a lot of these situations because it's kind of sporadic to use the transportation, but it's always part of it. So there's no timing on it at this point. We're in like the summer fun. What I honestly what just came out with the dates. So there has been some dates to be determined type of conversations, but programming should already be those conversations should already be underway, because there's already been times that teachers have been able to gather regression data. So there's that summer fun aspect. There's programs. So any student within a sub-separate program continues to receive services for 6 weeks in their regular programming. So those are all of our sort of life skills, multiple supports, autism programs. Those run all summer, and then we have tutoring that is specific to a student's needs based on any type of regression data that we see. There's speech and language, there's related services, there's all those pieces of it. We have had at the high school, Paula Sexton for the last 3 years has run a transition program. It's run 2 or 3 weeks. I'd love to talk to people about that more. Attendance, they work really, really hard to put together a great program, and attendance is like minimal. So it's one of those interesting things that it really is a need. So it's a transition program for students that are moving from, it's 8th to 9th grade, but she also takes in new students and sometimes 9th to 10th graders, or students that are coming in from out of district and returning to school for various reasons. They may be part of it. And it's a great week. There's counselors, there's teachers, there's admin. It's really to try to give them a heads up. And she always does it just the week before school starts. But attendance has dwindled. So parents, I think it's hard, for high school kids to entice them to want to do that. And we get that. But it's a really, really great program. They work really hard to make it interesting. So we're talking about trying to figure out ways that we can, get better attendance and get some more buy-in for that. But so that will be, I'll keep you guys posted on that. So I'm not sure what that will look like this year. So because we're going to try to change it up a little bit.
Sasha?
So thank you, Marcy. That's really helpful. That I think gave me a lot more context to understand. So I appreciate that very much. When will parents find out? I think you mentioned it, but not just for summer fun, but for other services. When do parents find out that schedule?
So the goal is second week of May is that we're trying to get, that is the goal before the end of the month, to try to get that information out for teachers to parents about times and services. Okay. I mean, the programs will go out early because those are most 99.9% of those are known students. Right. It's the tutoring that will go out. Again, the goal is by mid-May.
And have we ever thought about as a district, I'm sure we have, not necessarily just for the children that would want that support during summer fun, but to have some kind of program that like adds on to summer fun for all children, like especially with COVID learning loss and still identifying children who maybe are behind. Is there ever been a thought of doing some more comprehensive or robust programming, like attached or in conjunction with summer fun? So you have kids go to summer fun for that period, they have lunch, and then there's counselors, TAs, and maybe one instructor or whatever, who then has a 2 or 3 hour block with the children to do kind of whatever that subject matter, whatever they need, right? Is that something that whatever be considered, or?
I mean, and nothing would not be considered in terms, I mean, we only have, it's a hard scheduling thing, right? So, we have been super lucky. I'm going to knock on wood because I hate even saying it, with the amount of our really high qualified teachers who are looking and are able to do tutoring over the summer. Late afternoons become a little bit tough. Um, we and we have accommodated summer fun. Like there are many districts out there that you get your tutoring time. It says 10 to 11, and it is, that's your tutoring time. And if you can't go, you can't go. North Andover has successfully been able to provide afternoon services for, I would say, most, if not all, of the students who attend summer fun during the day. So to some degree, we do always try to accommodate it. We ask parents and give tutors some flexibility, but it's not a built-in program for after school time. Because I mean, it's certainly something that we can talk about and explore as far as the structure, but I'm not sure that we would have the staffing to be able to support that. So it's not something I would want to overpromise about it, but it's something that we can talk about, definitely.
Okay.
I have to say that, like my child has done the summer fun and has gotten extended school year when she was at summer fun. And she said that she enjoyed it because she was able to still do her summer fun activity. And then they would take her out for her speech and then she'd go right back.
Yeah. And
So
we can't do that anymore because that we can't do that taken out during the day.
yeah.
Because the location, like, so Rick doesn't have the capacity to give us a location. Like we used to be able to do that. And this was before me. This was a few years ago.
Yeah,
For the,
she was
in the youth
this is
center.
like before COVID.
Yeah. The
Second
only,
grade, I wanna say.
only place, because she probably had it, well, the only place that was possible was if it was Sergeant, you know what I mean?
And
Because
that's where she was.
a
Yeah.
little,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
'Cause
the
it's
other
not a-
tricky thing with that is if you're paying for a spot at summer fun, you don't also want to be missing any of that time that you're
Well,
also
and to
paying
Rick's
for.
point, like the kids didn't,
It says
the older kids didn't like
services should
it.
be outside that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the
And the
older
kids
kids
didn't
don't want
like
to
it.
leave
Yeah. Yeah.
their
So
friend.
the
Not
younger ones, it
everybody's
was
as
different.
comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know, Marcy, this is outside of necessarily special education. Is North Andover getting Accelerated Academy again?
I don't know. They do February vacation so there's a February vacation acceleration academy, but they
Do
don't,
we
I
know
mean,
if they're doing the summer one?
I don't, nothing's come out about it yet. I mean, the
Okay.
fact that they found out about February
So good.
vacation like 4 weeks before was a
Like,
miracle, because I think the last time it
unbelievable.
was like 2 weeks before.
I
So,
know.
I bet they
For
do, Rachel. I
doesn't
don't know though.
let me follow up. I wonder if I can call Desi to find out when that'll come out. Does North Andover consider special education students for Acceleration Academy, or I know some districts were keeping it separate?
No,
Okay.
the initial thought, there was some initial conversation about keeping separate because that's what a lot of districts were doing, but we
Yeah.
are not. It
Okay.
does get a little complicated, but we hired teaching assistants to do it too, because that was kind of
Okay.
the struggle around it was, addressing some of the needs. But there is
Just
like,
so
there is a
everybody knows,
formula.
sorry, Acceleration Academy was something Desi put into place for the 2 weeks before back to school, I think it was, Marcy.
Yep.
Uh, based on COVID, based on learning loss. So it was just like a ramp up to the beginning of the school year. And it was for regular education students. And some districts also put special education students in. Some districts said, well, if you regress, you're getting special education services, and we don't want to imply that this is a service because then it's not in the IEP, and it became a little bit messy. But some districts said whoever needs it based on the end of the school year data, whoever's, whatever cutoff tier was at risk, the kids came back in. And the 2 weeks before school, they had, was it a half day or even like a full day?
Full day. It was
Well, it
full
was
day.
like, yeah. And I mean, overwhelmingly, I think a lot of people liked it.
Yeah.
And a lot of the kids were like, I felt ready to come back. I felt better about coming back because they kind of slow rolled it in.
And the February one is math specific, the one that's coming up. And I know there is a formula about, who they can and who they can't. But the reality of it is that they're not going to leave any empty seats available either.
Right.
So they're going to continue to look at, whatever data they're looking at, which I don't have those specifics of, like, the lowest 10%, like students are going to
So
fall.
do you know how our families got notified about that then?
I don't.
Well, my daughter actually is going to be doing the math
Okay.
How
on
did you
special
find
education.
out?
I got a form. I got a sheet that she brought home from her teacher, and I also got an email, like a Google form, and I did it through the Google form too, because she was able to I guess she met the requirements, or so she was able to go do it.
Hmm.
And she's getting,
That's something.
which I'm really happy about, is she's getting transportation.
Well,
She's
yeah, that's
getting,
huge.
so there, I forget where is it, Marcy? Atkinson?
It was at Atkinson before, so I think it is where it is
I
again.
think that's where it is. Yeah. So they're,
So this is where like it also gets a little muddy, right? And this is something maybe I will, reach out to either, I don't know, Dr. Gilligan, I suppose would be the best person to start with, because if a child needs it or is qualified for it, what data are we using? And then is that indicating that that child needs math services? If they're already on an IEP, is their disability impacting their performance in math? And then how does that relate to summer? Do you know what I like? I could see why districts kept it separate, put it that way. But if our district is not keeping it separate, and we are saying that special education students are eligible to receive these services to prevent regression or based on substantial need,
Yeah, I don't
know
think
what
it's
the words are.
yeah,
I
I
don't think it's
yeah,
regression because it's not special ed.
yeah, it's not, the criteria is not regression.
No.
It is like, it is an at-risk
But
category, but I don't
substantial
know.
need too is in there. So
I
let me
actually,
find
I
out
actually,
about that.
I think it's not substantial need. I think that's the thing. I think it's, but I don't have full information, so I don't want to assume, but
Yeah.
I think it's a category somewhere in between. So like, for instance, it's not going to be separate program students that are going to be able to attend those programs. So it's not going to be appropriate for them. So there's got to be some sort of like
There's data points
a
being
better
used. So what are
description.
those
yeah,
DDMs? What are those DDMs being
Yeah.
used?
because one of my someone that I know, her child is going as well, and they don't have it on their, but they qualified to be
Yeah.
able to attend. But
What is the
But then there's a
age?
lot of kids that I know could benefit. And then when you say benefit, all kids could benefit. So
Right.
that it's like
Yeah.
it opens this messy
that's what I said.
pile. So
I
I
will
think
say, Marcy, I was very happy that the transportation was loud and clear this time, because for like the when Jalen was getting her summer services before, I never knew that transportation was
Yeah. And
provided.
I'd like to take credit for that, but honestly, this is all through the state. It's all mandated to be done in a certain sort of way with a certain with a certain type of criteria of how the students are elected. So like, let's get some more. I'll get some more information.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be Dr. Gillian. It
That'd be
would
great.
be Hillary Marks and
Okay.
in Kara Larcombe. Kara's the one who runs it, so I can get some more specifics about that. It's sort of, I'm a little bit removed from it, so I don't want to
Yeah.
make assumptions.
It's not, I'm sorry to put it on you.
No,
It's
that's all right.
not
No,
special education.
no,
It's
it's
just if
fine.
we have parents coming to us
Sure.
confused about how their friends' children are getting picked for
Yep.
this and how is this not an IEP service, I just want to make sure we're able to answer any questions.
Yep.
And then is it a special education team matter? Because we normally say you got to go through your team process, right? Like that's what you do, but it's not. So it's like, oh, okay, where does this fit?
Any other questions about just our typical ESY, and we'll keep that as a running agenda item. So I can, as things get clearer on our end, I'll continue to give you guys the updates around that and the numbers. And then in terms of the special education review, I met with Dr. Mealy today. It's a little bit of a different process for all of us. It's not a process I had asked prior to vacation. It's a little bit of a different process in the fact that we're using town funds, because there's a few extra steps in there. So things that are things that Dr. Mealy does that I don't do. So there are pieces that are they're called RFQs, and for people like me, and probably unlike you guys, or at least Sasha, who had no idea what that meant, because I didn't. It's request for qualifications. So what essentially Dr. Milley had requested from me was to give him the scope of services that we all worked on. So he was provided with that information today. So he's working on those RFQs. And then, so when special education funds are used through the district, and this isn't, I don't think this is necessarily a bid process. So special education services in general typically don't have to go through any bidding process. They are outside of that, oftentimes outside of that process. In this case, because we're using town funds, and it's new and not a lot of people, like in my I was asked to ask if other people have gone through this process, and I got 0 responses of people going through this process. So it's new, obviously, because towns have fundings to be able to do these things, and it's appropriate that we collaborate with towns in order to do this. But it is a couple of extra steps that are new to us. So we'll get through it. And again, we can keep this as a running agenda item, and I'll keep you posted. But that should be done. I don't know once those RFQs are completed and the scope is they have that information. I don't know timeline, what that looks like to get a response, but I'll keep you guys posted.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, I tried to press the button, but raise my hand instead. I don't know. Can I?
Go ahead.
Thank you. So first, I just want to say thank you very much, Marcy, for all your work on this, and for kind of the record. I appreciate you mentioning both in a school committee meeting and right here that we did respond and collaborated on a scope and provided input on a firm, because that was not actually noted. That was noted by town council formally, and that we did not do that. And so just for the record and for the folks that may watch this, just want to thank you so much and be very clear that, and I think Courtney, I think I can speak for the whole board, right? That we appreciate you immensely, want to continue working together collaboratively, and are really excited to do whatever we can with you to move this process forward. So want to say thank you for that. And just if you could send us the form, like the final scope that you sent to Dr. Mealy, that would be super helpful, just so
I sent them just the final scope was my initial scope, and then the addition of what Rachel sent back to me. So I don't disagree with any of those pieces. That, I mean, that's, I think it was a more explicit version of the things that we, there's nothing outside of, I had no concerns about the collaboration and the discussion in those. I mean, they would all be part of conversations that we had.
Okay. And then thank you. And then did the RFQ, did that get put out, and were folks notified that you had already talked to, and perhaps the firm that Rachel had talked to?
It's a step before that. So like, so they didn't care necessarily about the who. They wanted to know the what, what we were looking for them. So I assume that will be the next. I'm not, this is a new process. So I don't think we have to get bids, but they might want us to get quotes, something like that, as opposed to bids, which I can see that being appropriate, but I'm not 100% positive. This might be it. I'm not 100% positive.
Okay. Well, we very much kind of appreciate you keeping us.
I'll keep you posted. Yeah. Hopefully I know before the next meeting, but.
Okay. Awesome.
All right. Thank you, Marcy.
No problem.
All right. We are on to old business. Okay. Rachel, do you want to? Yeah. Do you want to talk about
a few things I think I have on there, and I did remember I had a few things, luckily, when the agenda popped up. Thank you. A little bit about my little mini educational videos. God knows I don't love watching myself on camera, but I'm happy to push out factual information any opportunity. Next one's up, I was actually going to do ESY, about how to interpret and understand that portion of a child's IEP, what those words mean, what the district options and offerings are. So perfect timing for Marcy to talk about it. And I can just reiterate all of that stuff. Then the next one I was going to do is a progress reports one, understanding what the progress report says, how to read the progress report, don't throw it out when it comes home with your report card, all of that, how to save them, how to organize them, parent handy tips on that. If there are any other educational video topics for the year that anybody has any questions about, I did the bullying one. Hopefully, that continues to be something that we're talking about consistently in our team meetings. But if there are any other topics, I know, I keep going back to the parent survey. But hopefully people can feel free to email me. And if there's a portion of the IEP you don't understand, happy to do a little segment on it. And I think that's it for the little videos. The next thing was the summer CPA fundraiser. I can lead right into that, Courtney. Is that all right?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Awesome. So the ABECC had a night out at Jamie's a few weeks ago, and Lauren Stedman, our phenomenal parent liaison, the poor thing had dental surgery that day, so she couldn't be there with me, but she hooked me up with Kelly, the PTO president there, who was absolutely lovely. It was kind of like a really cold, it was like one of the nights that it got really cold. So they didn't have a huge turnout, but I met a ton of ABECC families, which was fantastic. And we raised a little money. And then actually one of the teachers, Kristen Clark, she won the CPA gift certificate for summer camp for one of her children, which is fantastic. And I really got to speak to a lot of preschool and kindergarten families, which was so nice. Hand them out a flyer, talk to them a little bit about who we are, and just, that we're here for them. Lauren has been a fantastic resource. She looks forward to coming to our next meeting in March with hopefully even more updates. She has been talking to the PTO and Dr. Goddard, I believe, about having Sherry Serino donating books. She's a local author who does advocacy picture books. So it's about Ella's Way is the brand, and then Ella has all these different stories, and the author is potentially donating a large portion of books. And what we would do is put our flyer in there, and they would get donated to incoming
Did you just
preschool
say Ella's Way?
parents.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Marcy, that's what we've been trying to do.
I
Marcy
know.
Yeah.
and I have been trying, and Julie Ambrose is the one that brought our attention to Ella's Way.
Oh yeah. Well,
was
we've got it
amazing.
in.
Way.
Maybe some. We can talk about it. What
Yeah.
was our road? We had a roadblock in that. I forget what it
We
was.
did. It was COVID.
Okay.
That was
the
that was
roadblock
our
of
Other
everything.
advantages?
Little roadblock.
Little
You know,
bit. Little
I just
small roadblock.
remembered, Rachel, when you said Ella's Way, I didn't realize that was the
Yeah.
Yeah.
the books, because before oh gosh, it was, what was it, a couple of years ago, Marcy?
Yeah. I can't. Yeah.
So,
I'll have to look back. I know we started something with it, and I
yeah,
can't remember
because
what.
we wanted to do something for the K through second
Mhm.
grade,
Yeah.
because understanding our differences does third to fifth grade.
Right.
So we wanted to do something for them, and we were thinking about having her do presentations. Oh, that's so funny. I didn't put two and two together.
Yeah. So she's connecting with her and figuring out how we can, if she's willing to donate a large sum of books, whatever. This ties back into like the preschool screening thing, where is this something we hand out at preschool screening, hand out one of the picture books with our flyer in there, or, anything to get us some FaceTime. So Lauren is fantastic. She is just enthusiastic, excited for some sort of spring meetup. She's got all sorts of ideas that she wants to bring to the next meeting in March. In addition to that, she did notice that ABECC has us listed under focus groups on their website with just kind of a meh blurb, and just mentioned that that's something that we may want to submit a more accurate, informative description about us to them for their website, just because it didn't really represent us. It's not our official blurb, put it that way. So I don't
Okay.
know if there are thoughts on that, or if we would want to do that.
Who do we contact for that? The PTO or
I
the?
think probably just
Whoever
Tiffany
holds their
directly.
website.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sure
Yeah,
it's Tiffany.
probably.
Probably just Tiffany
Okay.
directly.
All right. The other thing is what is a CPAC presentation? Going to each school. I already talked to Sargent School, and I think I got it for April. I'm going to be doing the CPAC presentation there.
Great.
But
You got the PTO meetings?
Yeah, the PTO meeting.
So Lauren did ABECC. She
Mhm.
did 2 of them,
Mhm.
which is great. I'm happy to do Thompson.
Okay. Yeah, let's try to, maybe we can do that before
See,
the
our
year
big ones,
ends.
our big ones are secondary. Our big ones are secondary. Meg
Yeah.
can do Atkinson. It's our big ones are middle and high school.
Okay.
That I feel like we gotta get in there. We gotta get out there. And I don't know they don't have a PTO, right?
Yeah, they
do.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Or
Yep.
is it
Mhm.
active?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, yeah, it's active in the
Names,
sense
yeah.
that they do a lot of like teacher engagement stuff and like, to the
They
same.
go to PTO president's meeting.
Yep.
all right. We
Oh,
got to
maybe
figure out where
that's-
they are.
Maybe that's a presentation.
Oh, it's Kristen Perry.
Kristen
Oh,
Perry,
right.
yeah. All right, so
All
maybe
right.
we can ask and see. All right.
She
'Cause I
had
think-
said that she would be our liaison. Remember? Wasn't it the
Yes.
last one?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So let's call Kristen in on that to get an opportunity
Do you want me to do
to
Kittredge
connect
then?
with them.
That would be good, Sasha.
I just it'll have to be in a couple months. I need and then I
That's
can
fine.
start it. Okay.
That's fine.
Doesn't have to be right
Yeah,
now.
if we think of it like the basic rights presentation, right? It's just something that we then put on the board every year.
Yep.
And it becomes like clockwork. So it's like basic rights gets offered every year. Once a year, we go to the BTO because it's new people sometimes every year with what is a CPAC. And it's just generating
So
that
Can
easy
we
conversation.
make some standard like a standard presentation? So it doesn't mean that
We
you have
should
to
use
do
the
all-
one, that I have in Google that Lauren
Mhm.
used.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah,
I
it does.
just think we should all have like the same general.
Absolutely. We should use the one that I have in Google. So I'll reshare that.
Marcy, something I wanted to bring up to you is, remember how we were talking about professional development, like talking about CPAC, so that teachers are more informed about it. And how about if we gave you the CPAC presentation, what is the CPAC? Could you possibly present that at one of your PD, like for a presentation?
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
literally like, it's only like, it took us like 2 minutes, 5 minutes?
yeah,
Yeah.
I would definitely, it's, like we don't have whole group PD, so I would be looking at the individuals, like, and again, the audience is not, although I shouldn't say that. I think that as many it's a good presentation for all people. I don't want to assume that even special education teachers necessarily, particularly if they don't have kids, know what a CPAC is either.
think
But we'd
all.
want it to be for the larger population. So let's just figure out the how to do it. PDs are jam packed, and to add something else to that, it'll just be, I don't want it to just be that. So
And it may
what-
even have to be next year. I'm sure your
or
PDs
better
are
served in
set.
an email, like an occasional email. Like I send DL, like all staff emails, a lot with just information. Like maybe even in the next newsletter, I can add that to the next newsletter if you guys want the link to that
Yeah,
goes
no,
out to
that's fine.
families. So that, just different ways just to get it out. Cause even if it's, even if, you hit a few people who, all, do pay attention to
Right.
those things, especially where it's just brief, that we might, and I don't know if you post it too, like, I think a lot of school staff do see things on the Facebook page more so than even on the website. Because I don't want to just put it on a PD thing without more kind of context around it. 'Cause it will just, again, they're packed with stuff to do. But any other way, like any alternative ways to get that information out there, I'm happy to do.
Okay. Let's see.
Oh, and I can, I can ask people too. I have the what's new on Facebook. I had the ETLs and directors put that on their signatures. I can post the video underneath there too, if you guys have a standard video.
Oh, I like that. What do you guys think?
Because
Yeah. I think
I
the
do-
more places that can be blasted, the better.
okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, send it to me.
I'll clean it up, make sure it's all cleaned up and share it with everybody.
Okay.
Okay. The next is, Sasha, you didn't get back to me, so please tell me if I'm, the budgeting. I wasn't sure.
Sure. Yeah, we can talk about that. So I think I just said I didn't have a formal hold on one sec, my thing's gonna die.
I know you said the other thing, you said not to, so
Yeah, no problem at all. So there, if you'll just give me 1 second, sorry, my computer is. Perfect. So my sorry, my computer had to connect to, I was dying. So really quickly, budgeting update is just, I think, Marcy, if we could talk through that. I know we've like had some certain conversations and now we're already, have gone through the operating budget process with the school committee, and that doesn't include anything specific or specific line items for any requests from SEPAC. And it quite frankly didn't feel like there was maybe an appetite for something that was predetermined or planned. And so I don't know how you want to approach that.
It honestly, it can be approached. It really doesn't need to be pre-planned. I mean, I don't anticipate, and there never has been an issue in terms of having conversations about it. I know there have been, you guys have put out, there's some grander, for lack of a better word, in terms of expense thoughts around providing some PD for families. So those are all discussions that we can have. I mean, there is some level of equity in terms of like what we're looking at and what we can collaborate on with other, this is different. We know that CPAC is different from a PTO, and we're super invested in parents having training opportunities. I'm not sure that rights law is the right place for like, that is a big undertaking. And like you said, so it's something that I'd want to have some more conversation about. But if it felt better to say we're going to come up with an amount as opposed to collaborate on a person, that's something that we can certainly talk about in that way. But again,
Yeah,
it's
and I
just
think
funds. We'd want to have some collaboration and conversation about what those funds are being used for.
well, and we do too, right? So we want that we want you as the district to feel like you have a return on investment for the dollars that you're using, right? Because taxpayers want their money to be spent wisely, and we want families to see that return on investment for us too, right? All the folks who are donating and supporting us. So I think that it would be helpful, at least to know kind of what you think would be valuable, and we don't have to talk about it now. We can kind of think about it and come back. But what things do you find in your experience most valuable for professional development for families, for teachers, for even to bring to children? What does that look like in your experience? And then also just kind of like a rough order of magnitude, like what is the district even have available? And again, don't have to have the specific conversation right now, but what does that look like? Because that I think gives us a better framework in planning our fundraising efforts. Because if we are as a board, and I don't know that we are, I'm not saying we are, just as an example, or say we absolutely want rights law to come in. We absolutely want it. Here's how much it costs. Here's what this looks like. Well, now we know we have a uses of funds. We have to find a sources. And then we would come to you and say, hey, is this something that the district feels is important for families? We could do it like that, or we could say, you could say, no, there's just no, we don't find value in that. And then we could move forward. But I think we just need to narrow it down a bit. And I also think that that's not the be all end all. I think that there's tons of other things that we can think about and do, and would love your input as well. I know we have a list, but that would be helpful. And I don't know if Courtney, Rachel, Meg, you have any other points to that.
I definitely, go back to that parent survey all the time and think about like, okay, what are the two big topics that parents are requesting? Like for me, it's like, I have a million things I want. You know me, I could spend in a hot minute. But I just keep going back to what are they directly telling us that they want? And it's two avenues. It's education for the basic rights as a parent and the mental health anxiety piece.
Yeah.
And
those
that's
are the ones
really
that
where I came with the two, that's why, for me, the two, that's where for me, I go right to, well, what are the best resources for those? They happen to be the most expensive, is Lynn Lyons and Peter Wright. So for me, I happen to enjoy those speakers. I have seen them both. I think they're incredibly valuable for parents, actually, and teachers. I've gotten an enormous amount from them as an educator. But it's more, what do people want, that I go right to.
Yeah, we have quite a few teachers going to Lynn Lyons in a couple of weeks. I think it's in May. And the only thing that I can speak
She's
to
pretty awesome.
is what we've seen of like the attendance of things, you know, like you guys, and they're similar to what you guys, the mental health pieces, the mental health opportunities and discussions that we have. Even when we had like Nikki present, and whether it's Michelle in the future, one of like we had, and this is again like the other collaboration aspects of it that don't cost anything that we can do, is that at one point, I don't think it was last year, I think it was the year before, Nikki and Deanna Lima, who's the
Yeah,
town,
that was good.
they did they did kind of like an evening with parents as well, just to give them more of a localized discussion on resources, and you know, so but those seem, when we're looking at the things that have been well attended, Sarah Ward was obviously, it's the names that people are familiar with, you know, and they're good too, so it's a win-win. That was certainly well attended. The mental health pieces have been well attended. So that's, you know, I appreciate the survey, but I think if we're going to dial it down a little bit, you know, maybe a more targeted survey around that piece of it, specifically, um, we might want to think about, and to get that you know, that can go out, like you've said, that can go out to all families. It doesn't have to just
Oh
be,
yeah, that's
you
an
know,
easy
special
Google
education.
poll right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. So, I mean, if I get, you know, 10 questions a week, you know, 9 of them are about issues surrounding mental health. So, and I shouldn't say that. So mental health, there's two pieces of that. So the other aspect, um, that we might, you know, just even, and I know it came up, in, part of the surveys too, that we haven't really talked about, is, transition planning. So that's another kind of piece that again, but and that might get your middle school and high school
That's a
parents
big one, and I think
involved.
what's hard is they were so underrepresented in our survey too, and
Yeah.
I feel like there's a roadblock there for us to be reaching those parents. Transition planning is massive right now because of the lack of resources. It's just
Yeah. And so the only
it's
thing that
so
I can,
hard.
yeah, so the only other thing that I can maybe, and maybe this is a level of comfortability, is, I know you guys, I don't know if you know, but Brian Sad, who's our, who is the teacher, he's a transition specialist. He works at the TOPS program, which is the 18 to 22 program. Maybe some discussion between like him and Paula Sexton and Sue Donatel, where they're like, they're familiar people to these families. Maybe they're people that we tap into to have like an initial conversation about transition, because even at the elementary school level, um, you know, it's a difficult but needed conversation in particularly like older elementary. Like, where do you see your child? What is your, where do you see them? And like, just that 1 to 5 years. And people come up with like sort of like the cookie cutter of like, you know, I want to see them, you know, making progress, continue to make progress. But really it's a challenging conversation to have, and sometimes an uncomfortable conversation to have, but it really, really needs to, um, start to really be dialed into in those transition years, 5th to 6th grade, definitely during middle school. Um, and so we're dealing with two separate things. It's uncomfortable for parents, to have their child oftentimes be part of those conversations. We feel like it's really important. Sometimes, parents are really nervous about having those, conversations. And I think Holly even said, like, sometimes it's the teacher who has good relationship that can have that difficult conversation with the kid. As long as the conversation is being had, we're good, but we just want to make sure that it's being had in a way that's developmentally appropriate. So maybe it's using the people that, you know, at the building based level, to start those, like maybe they do an evening, or that be part of like the transition night to talk specifically, or send something out about what transition planning is, just to put like the language out there. You know, what is transition planning? What does it look like for your student? What questions should you ask? Or what questions can you, um, be prepared to answer, type of thing.
I think that's a really good point about putting the language out there, because as a parent with an oldest child, like I don't even
Yeah.
know, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Mhm.
you don't know what you don't know, so we rely on people to kind of train us. And with you just bringing this up, saying, sorry, I have a the
That's all right.
peanut gallery, but yeah, like you bringing that up is like, oh, that's something that I need to be thinking about, you know? So I think that's a really good point. And I think that we can get like a little overzealous and like we know what's important, like what we want to bring in and things like that. But it's like we also then have to teach everybody why these things are important. And so how do you begin these conversations? So I think this is a really good place to look into more. And
So Rachel, maybe one of the things like when you say like what are my talks, and then I mean again like that, or maybe that's something that we collaborate on and we blast out to families, or something that is like, this is what you should be prepared, this is what transition does, because again, people think transition, they're thinking, well, when they get into high school, when they go to college, when they leave school, but
Yep.
it's a bigger conversation with that. So maybe it's a blurb. I mean, maybe it's something we can talk about after vacation and to think
Yeah.
about like what
I
is
would
the
love to do a
language.
video on transition planning, and I would need your support on that, Marcy, for sure, for
Yeah.
each of the
Well, and I think it looks
transitional
different, like,
times.
yeah, what it looks like, what are some questions you can
It's so
prepare for
different.
middle school, and
Yeah.
and then, and again, we can have
And
those.
how do you tie it into your vision statement?
Mhm.
How do you make it a reality?
Yep.
And I think this goes to, just because we're talking about it, goes to like each section of the IEP, right? And making sure that
Correct.
we as parents understand exactly what those should look like.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And,
Right, 'cause I guarantee you there's still parents out there that don't understand that when you don't take MCAS, you don't get a diploma. I mean, we know that, and
The
so,
majority. Yeah.
and
A lot of them.
I think there's obviously the understanding of students that are in some level of intensive programming that looks
Right.
different than parents who feel
Mhm.
like, and believe me, I totally get, I do not want my kid taking that test. It is horrible. It does this to them. It does that to them. And that balance between exposure and what feels probably like torture, to some families. So, um, and I know you talked about the accommodations. That was something that you guys were doing too. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pieces of that. So, um, there's a lot to digest in those pieces. And, it gets a little clearer as they get older, but it's like, as you go through the motions of it in the younger years.
And then it's ready to transition out and it gets even muddier again.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just,
well, it sneaks up on you too.
Yep.
Like we're making the transition to middle school, and it's like I was in kindergarten a little,
Yeah.
it comes quickly.
And just in our district, just so you guys know, like we have like our school psychologists are amazing. So like we do a lot of work with even our own teachers around understanding cognitive profiles and what that means. And so people see evaluations and, they are confusing at least. I mean, you try to explain to the greatest extent you can in meetings, but just that might be something to think about that, I always like to do with our teachers. So certainly like it's something that we would afford parents the opportunity. I mean, not to get into your specific children's cases, but just to understand like what over testing is and why we don't recommend testing to the extent that's on a yearly basis, and what that does and what concerns are about that and what each evaluation is specifically looking at. So, I mean, we could go on and on about pieces, but I think that, the focus aspect around what in terms of that understanding of the IEP, I think there are pieces that we can, utilize the people who are familiar to people, particularly in our under kind of our populations that aren't necessarily attending these meetings. Maybe we utilize the staff who they see to get to that group too.
awesome. Thank you.
Sorry, I was writing down something because I actually have a thought. I'm really curious. So, for kids that are going to be going into middle school and they have a learning comprehension, right? And then all of a sudden they get this their schedule, right? And it's a bigger school. And I mean, it just made me think like how overwhelming, I mean, to all the kids, not just a kid with a learning comprehension, but I mean, just to think like they have to memorize where they're supposed to be going. And, like it just seems very overwhelming,
Mhm.
not just to a kid with, special needs, but also to the general too.
Yeah, so they it's a kids do better than that with parents as a general kind of statement around scheduling,
true.
because honest, like I still need help with the middle school schedule and
It's a
times.
nightmare.
Like, so unless you live it and the kids live it, it really is hard to get. But that being said, over the summer, they do a lot of VIP tours over the summer. And similar to what I was talking about, the transition program at the high school, they do it to a different degree. The guidance department runs it at the middle school. They do things like anything from like scavenger hunts to tours to those pieces of it, learning lockers. So it is a constant conversation about families being worried about those transitions, whether it be from kindergarten to first grade, fifth to sixth grade, eighth to ninth grade. It's always like the major concern.
Thank you, Marcy.
Mhm.
So I actually have some the head chair report. I have some news I actually just got today. I told you guys before that I was doing the Visions of Community virtual conference March 4th. I'm actually might be on a second panel instead of just one. The first panel I'm on with Lauren McCarran for SEPAC awareness. She has 5 members on her panel. One's an advocate, state representative, principal, and then I'm going to be the parent talking about SEPAC awareness for 3 minutes. But now I might also be doing on a panel with Leslie for SEPAC officers to talk about working collaboratively with their school district and the best practices that we find. So I might be doing that with her as well now on the same day.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
When is that, Courtney?
March 4th.
March 4th. Or so.
The one with Leslie is at 10:30, I believe. I might be doing that one. I'm not sure just yet if I'm able to because of work.
Yeah.
But this on the same day, I'll be doing 3 to 4:30 with CPAC awareness. And then yeah, so just got that news about the Leslie one. So
Congratulations.
thank you. And then
That's super exciting.
yeah, and it brings North Andover, and I think it's so important that people know that North Andover is trying to, like that. I'm happy that we're, people are understanding that our district is, our
Becoming a leader.
there, and like
We want to
makes me
become
really-
leaders.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's
Just like we were supporting Stoneham. Stoneham kind of rebuilding. They reached out to us, and we've been supporting them. And, you doing these things, it just, gets us out there and with the other
Yep.
communities. It's great.
Yep. And then my favorite NA Star Awards is coming up. Woohoo! So we put a subcommittee. So first off, anyone that doesn't know what NA Star Award is, we try to this is our third year, and we try to get families to nominate someone in their school, a teacher from the special education department that has really helped their child or themselves, what happens is we send out a Google form. We ask, you can be anonymous or, and you put the teacher's name, and then you just write, I think 500 words. I can't remember how long we do it, but, and then what happens is we have a subcommittee, and the subcommittee, understanding our differences, Heidi and Maureen are going to be on it, and Rachel is going to be on the subcommittee with me, and Lisa from NAPRN is going to be on it as well. And what we're going to be doing is when everyone sends in their nominations, I just we pick someone from reading the nominations, and we pick someone from each school, and they get a star award from NACPAC, and then we give an overall award to the person that got the overall in the whole school district. So, and from the past, we've done it. What was it? We went to the school administration office and we met the teachers there and we handed it to them because it was COVID time. So, but I don't know what we're going to be doing this year. So
Yeah, I think part of the issue is, as you guys have experienced yourselves, participation varies between building to building. So the committees make the decisions to the best that they can based on like a whole, you know, the spirit of it is to recognize in a positive way someone that, you know, someone based on, you know, information directly from kids and families.
Yep.
So again, the more I feel like if you guys in the past, it's been, you know, Courtney and one other. So like if you guys can help support kind of getting that information, and we've gone back and forth, like sometimes it just so happens to be like it'll be a TA that will happen to like, you know, rally the troops, and they'll so
Yep.
we kind of go with the punches.
Yeah,
And
teacher assistants are involved in it, and
the piece about it is that you kind of leave it at we were almost recognizing too many people. So it was we were in one situation, I think it was like the ABCC was like everybody but 2 people. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's like we'll leave it at the 1, you know, per school.
Yeah.
And an overall.
because I
So
wanted to give everyone something, but
yeah,
it's so complicated that I was like, okay, yeah, no,
it's
this
all
can't.
complicated. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
'cause
a lot of districts have like an excellence educator
Yeah,
award, but
yeah.
it's really nice that it's for special education.
Yeah.
It's
And
really nice.
however the, you know, however they come in and however you decide to do it based on who come in, the nice piece is exactly that. It's just someone being
Yep.
recognized.
yeah, because the first year we did it, we had 84 responses.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, which was great. Last year we didn't have that many, so
Yeah.
we decided to, and it was more general ed.
Yeah. We
And
needed a better.
yeah, so decided
Yeah,
to,
we can amp it up.
yeah, so I'm hoping
Is that
this
something you need, like a flyer, an online?
so
Like, do you need
We
do we
have
need to
it.
create something online?
so I
Yeah, we
already have like a Google form thing
Yep.
that we can just reuse or
Sorry,
we
I
can
mean
email
like
it.
like
there's a
an event post for
there it
Facebook that we have.
yeah. And there's
Yeah,
a flyer
Okay.
that was created. So you
yeah.
can probably doctor to change up for this year.
Who has
I just
that,
need to reuse
Courtney?
it. I should have it. I'll
Vanessa did it, I
share
believe.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure I
I
have it
don't
too.
have it. I know Vanessa will have it.
Yeah, I probably do too.
But we can also change it up too if you
Yeah.
want to.
Mhm.
But I was figuring February 27th to send out the flyer in the Google form, and then March 27th to have that will be the deadline, because then that will give us time, the subcommittee, to meet 1 or 2 times depending how many are nominated. The first year we met 2 times because there was a lot of people nominated. But so it
Do
depends.
you have how do you have them submit it? Just the Google Doc, just filling out
Yeah, they do a
questions and
Google
everything?
form, and
Okay.
what I do is I go back and I organize it, who was nominated for Thompson, and I do it that way. Who was nominated for Atkinson? So I go back and I, look at.
Do you automatically remove people that have already won?
We haven't yet.
No.
Okay.
We haven't done it, and I don't think we've done it enough times.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But we can
Just because
definitely
sometimes
talk
great
about it,
Yeah.
I think it's a good topic for the subcommittee, just because great
Yeah.
educators are going to keep
Yeah.
popping up, right?
Yep.
Like,
No, I agree.
yeah. So the more years you do it, the more likely that's going to happen.
And then the other thing, didn't you have, if they wanted to, kids submit something in writing or like about their teacher?
Yeah. The first year we had, if they wanted to send us a video
Oh,
and then
right.
they talked about it, or if they wanted to write something, or it was really sweet. And I sent it to some teachers that got nominated so they could see it, that parents gave permission of
Yeah.
course. But it really was good. But I'm hoping this year we can amp it up just a little bit more.
Do
And
we have a meeting for that subcommittee, Courtney, on the calendar?
no, not yet, but we gotta put that in the.
Do you mind doing that, just because the next few weeks it's going to be quick?
Yeah. All right, so you want me to email tonight? See,
Yeah, that'd be great.
on the subcommittee? Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
whatever you think is best, and then just that way we can get that going, because I just want to make sure I don't miss having that on my calendar.
All right. All right. let me
Thank
put-
you.
Don't forget. Okay. Trying to think, what did I forget?
Special Olympics, I just saw on there.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, do we have a date for Special Olympics?
No, but perfect timing because Kara Higgins just contacted me on Friday. She is the woman who organizes Special Olympics.
Mhm.
She is a
She's a
super
powerhouse.
Mhm.
She's awesome.
No.
So she single-handedly like took it from Kathy Keith, who also did an amazing job. And so most people, if you don't know, Special Olympics is a collaboration. It's a North Andover Special Olympics.
So it's an Andover this year, right?
It's in, yeah, we take turns. So it's in Andover this year. Kara Higgins, who is a North Andover parent resident, but also has been, though she's just retired, a teacher assistant in Andover. So she has, she has kind of connections on both ends. So it will be held in Andover this year. The most challenging piece is always the date of Special Olympics. So she just put out an email to everybody this past Friday, starting that conversation. So it really does it's like an act of Congress to get a date on the books for Special Olympics. But hopefully I'll have that for you guys by the next meeting date. So
Yeah, because then I'll talk to the Andover CPAC and see if we can collaborate with them. Because last year we were supposed to, but
it was super well attended by North Andover volunteers and this Best Buddies program. And I don't know if it's just, last year was the first year since I've been here of in-person Special Olympics. It was the first year it was back. So this will also be new for me, where it's, I had a different level of control over it and knowledge because it was here. And so with like the help of Steve Nugent and Kara and Chet, it was more in the know. So we're kind of on the visitor side this side. So I'll let you guys know as I know those details.
yeah, keep us posted. I'll definitely keep that date once you have it.
Okay.
I'll keep it open.
On mute. Can I ask a quick clarifying question?
Yeah.
How do students qualify for the Special Olympics? Because
So it's students who can't otherwise participate essentially in a regular type of phys ed gym situation. So it's sub-separate programs, kids with kind of physical needs. So for North Andover, it's our sub-separate programs, and then some of the partial programs, but that's more so middle school, high school, where they have some integrated programs, but particularly for students who can't participate in any sort of kind of typical gym activity.
So typically students would have probably APE on their IEP.
Yep.
So
Not all of
adaptive
them, but a
physical
lot of them.
education.
Yep.
That's typically one avenue.
It's so well put together too. I had so much fun last year.
Yep.
Yep.
They do a great job.
Yeah. My next thing is, so the Q&A with the school committee candidates. I was trying to get a date on the books. I think I'm going towards March 20th, just because it's after they meet with the league. Thank you. The Women's League. So I typically like to do it after they meet with them. And then that will just be asking families for questions, special education, related. And then we send it to them so they are prepared. And depending, and it goes pretty well. I mean, it's well attended.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So depending how many are running, do we know?
3.
3. Okay, so the first year we had 10 questions, but what we did was we only gave them, oh gosh, I'm sorry guys, I think like 4 each. And what we did was we kind of it was kind of sporadic, in any like one that if there was a question they really wanted to answer but they didn't get to, what they did was they submitted it to me and I put it out there for the families to see what their answer would have been. So if they don't get a question, get to the question, then they can submit it, and families will know what they would have said. So that way that they're heard, but because there's only 3, I know last year we were able to get to all 10 questions, and because and then this year we should be able to get to usually 10 questions. So
And you gave them I forget, you gave them the questions ahead of time, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
I do that so that
Yeah.
it's fair, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Is this virtual or in person?
It's virtual.
Virtual.
Yeah. And it's been really well attended. Yeah. I think last
I'm
year
working
there was
on
40.
questions, just as an FYI, depending on how many we get from the community too.
Yeah.
I
Because
have,
sometimes
I
this is
think,
what
8.
happens. Families submit it, and then let's just say we get like 8 questions, to ask, but they could be similar questions to each other.
Of course. Filter them
we-
together in a way that works. Yeah.
How are you advertising and requesting questions? Are we sending a Google form to everyone that has a student with an IEP?
So usually what happens is we send out a flyer, and they can just email. So I think what we were going to do was, and tell me if you guys want to do something different, but usually I just give them an email and they just email me their questions.
Marcy, would it be possible to send something out?
Yeah, I mean, do you want to limit it just to special education parents?
No, but I think if we did both, you're going to get more questions.
However, yeah, I mean, I
Is
can
that-
certainly do if you want to send, are you going to do a form or just like a kind of
Yes.
an old call of like, if you have questions that you want to send to CPAC in regard to, if you want to give me like a description of what it is that you're doing. And
Yeah, what
you
I'll
wanna
do
send
is
us some
we'll maybe
responses, I
get
can send
a
out.
flyer together, or a Google.
To
Google
make
Um,
point, I think a Google form
So
would keep it
we'll
easy for you.
get something together for you and then send it to you.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean,
but yeah,
honestly, and I
like-
think you guys know, like, I think honestly, I think blasting on your social media is oftentimes like a beneficial way of getting things back to.
I agree. I also feel like the more that we reach out to parents that aren't following us on social media, the more following, it's like a circle, right? The more following we will get.
Yeah, I mean,
People-
I'll send out
You know what I
whatever.
mean?
Really agree.
Yeah.
Because then people will recognize it, even if we, put links to Facebook, and things like that. But
Yeah,
happy
I
to-
mean, I'll send whatever, but at the same, however many avenues.
And what's nice about this is that it's not just it's like everyone in North Andover like comes to this, because they want to know who they're voting for, and like learn like what they're interested to see what their answers will be, so which is nice. But I think it gives it a nice little, I forget how I came up with it. It was like, because of COVID and everything, and everyone was so interested in, running that year. I just said, hey, why don't we
Yeah.
just do a school committee candidates Q&A? And
Yeah.
oh my gosh, we got so many people. I think it was like 60 people on the call.
Yeah.
Last year, like 34. Like
Yeah.
it was pretty good.
So I have another question, Courtney. When you do it, do you allow people to call into the Google Meet?
So what we did,
I
no.
don't think we did. We
Sorry,
didn't.
I'm trying to
they
think.
didn't
I'm
before.
like,
So how does that work? Can people watch it live, or how? Well, now we have
like,
cams.
so what happened was, for the times that I did it before, I shared the Google, oh my gosh, the Zoom meeting that we did with them, because it was Zoom that I did it with. And I shared that online, and I also had them submit what they wrote for their answers, so that families could see a written version as well if they didn't want to see the video. So I gave 2 forms of information for families that I shared online with them. But I don't do but yeah, that's actually a really good question.
because
I mean, I'm
what we
sure you
can,
can live stream it again. I mean, if you ask, yeah.
yeah, just like we're doing our meeting, we can do that, right? So it would be that they don't have to join, so you'd have no interruptions. That's always
Right.
my fear, right? But then they could watch it live. Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna see, I'll reach out to the candidates to see if March 20th works for them. See how that goes.
We'll have to give Brian that date too. So let me, because that's not on the meeting dates to give to have Cam.
Okay,
And so we just should backtrack to that date, right? So if it's already the 13th, we need answers by X date, right? So we have to send it out. We need answers by questions in by X date, so we can choose how many, the 10 questions, and then those go to the candidates and they get 2 weeks or however, like we'd have to, it'll come way sooner than we think.
I know. So why don't I reach out to the candidates, see if that date works, and then we can work on to send something to families, because next week we won't be able to because of vacation. So maybe right when we come back from vacation, send something to the families.
Yeah, and check whatever, I mean, you have to check the town calendar too, see what else is going on, because starts to get busy.
Can we, do you think, I mean, since it's just a quick Google form, could we get the Google form out this week so we don't have to, so we start the clock? Because you don't have to put the date, right? You can just say for the candidates forum that will occur in March.
Yeah.
That way it doesn't pigeonhole you, and then you can get it out earlier so that.
Sounds good. All right, so Google form. Sorry, I'm just writing it down too. Okay. All right. Exciting. My two favorite things. Oh, and then the other thing, we have to do another fundraiser for one of our summer things that we have that I don't want to say right. But hey, you know what I liked about summer fun is that they're doing, did I see now they're opening it up to 3 different schools now? 4. That's so cool.
They added a 4th, I think.
Yeah,
right?
It was 3. It was Drummond, Sargent, and Atkinson, and now it's
They
Franklin.
added Franklin.
That's so cool. But all right, I think oh, I did get submitted a public comment via email, Marcy, if you don't mind.
Before we do that, do we have to? Are we picking a new date for the March meeting because Marcy's
Oh, yeah.
unable to make
I
it
can't do
March
that.
6th?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. All
Thank
right.
you. I forgot about that.
You're welcome.
I'm not available the 13th, but I can be available other times.
Should we?
Do we have to do Mondays? Is that just status quo?
We don't have to. I mean, we can change it for this one. What
The
about
23rd?
let's see. This is for March, right? I just want to make sure that I'm in everything.
Yes.
So Thursdays, I just said, because Thursdays typically school committee meetings. Let me just see if there's one on there.
And that's my crazy day with the girls. It's our crazy running around day.
No, there isn't. I don't see one on there.
I should be able to
I mean, I can do, I don't know if you got, I mean, I can probably do any other day that week, just not Monday. Because I mean, I might just have to be remote. If we're doing a remote, that would be a much higher chance, but any other, just not the 6th.
The
But
8th or the 9th?
I can't do the 8th. That's the 5th grade Mamma Mia pasta night. Can't do it.
Can't do it. Blocked. Just blocked it up.
Does the 7th? What about the 7th?
Yeah, the 7th is okay on my end. What about everyone else?
That's a
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
that should be fine.
Can we plan on that one being remote? Oh, you can't do the 20th. What about,
I'm just marking. I can do the
Okay.
7th for the other thing.
Okay.
can we do that one remote, do you think? Like this
Yeah,
one?
we've been talking about doing. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So as long as you guys are okay with that, that's fine with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Meg, for bringing that up. I completely forgot.
And Meg's right. I actually, I don't know if it matters, but I have a conflict on the 20th too.
And that's for the CPAC. That's the school
Yeah,
committee forum we're hoping to have.
Well,
Do we have to have us all, or can
Yeah,
I
exactly, like
support
you-
Courtney in that?
I mean,
I'm more than happy to support Courtney in that. I mean,
Yeah, and
technically,
they have
how
Yeah,
much
made-
are you really
I need someone with
facilitating?
me. Yeah, I need someone to do the timer for me. So Rachel, if you can help me, that'd be awesome.
I can do that. What I can't do is set up the stuff with Brian and Cam. If somebody wants to set it all up, I'm happy to turn it on at 6 p.m. But I don't want to get into the tech stuff, but I'm happy to do the timer and whatever else you need that night.
Right. Awesome. Okay. Okay. That'll be good. Oh, is it okay to ask the public comment now? Okay. So I just had a question. Someone reached out to me about who does she contact for if her child's a gifted child?
so
Yeah.
did she, I don't mean to be, but did she submit a formal public comment?
She emailed our old email to me.
But I don't, but did she say she wanted a public comment? Or did she just ask us a question?
She asked me to put it out in the public comment. I wouldn't if she didn't.
No, I only say that because then it should, typically we'd say like who it is.
Nope, she asked me to be anonymous, so I'm gonna respect that.
No, I'm not, yeah, okay, so then we're just asking a general question.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Massachusetts public education does not have gifted and talented programming that is mandatory by the state.
Okay.
What there is, and I'm going to put it right here into the chat, is Mass Gifted is like the primary resource
Okay.
for where parents go to talk about providing support and advocacy for the gifted and talented students. Also students that may be twice exceptional. Twice exceptional is considered, you may have actual disability categorization, but also be considered gifted. So that's a great resource.
And particularly Courtney, people, if it's someone that's moved in from out of states, from a different state, it's kind of Massachusetts is kind of an outlier in this scenario. So it's a question that we get frequently because oftentimes it will fall under it falls under student services in other states.
Yeah. And I think Massachusetts, when they talk about it, most districts now try to follow a UDL methodology. So like the ability to differentiate for learners no matter where they are. So teachers are expected, if the child's very high in a certain subject, particularly like the Eureka math curriculum that we use at elementary, it goes very high. Like if you have a child that's talented in math, there are very easily accessible extension activities for it. There's also an ability to differentiate that curriculum to access levels below the grade level. So Massachusetts, I can only speak for what I know, but really attempts to differentiate for all learners on a spectrum versus identifying a gifted and talented program in general. But the Mass Gifted is a good resource.
I actually have a public comment. I have a question. So I actually just had an IEP meeting and actually, I'm sorry. So I've been debating going back and forth signing my daughter's IEP and apparently my husband signed it. And
no.
yes. And the only reason why I'm bringing this up, because then it brought a question to me, like, what happens in those instances when because I said, stay in your lane, because that's my lane. What happens in those instances when the mom's the one that signs the IEPs constantly, but the husband ended up signing it this time?
Yeah, I would never question that. You know what I mean? It would be out of line for someone to question that, but just always remember that like you can accept and reject at any point, any portions of the IEP that you want. So
All right.
just that's, however you need to exert that. But I would
Mm-hmm.
never, like, that would be a terribly slippery slope, particularly if there's no custody issues there. That would
Yeah.
be the only time that we would bring it up. That otherwise it would never, that would never be
The
questioned.
district is not going to dig into that at all.
Mhm.
It's on, the onus is on you to rescind your acceptance.
Right.
Yeah. I was
He
planning to
or
sign it.
him, really him, to actually rescind his
Yeah.
acceptance
Yeah.
and be very specific about the parts that you do not want to move forward. I assume if
Yeah.
he accepted the whole thing, you can then still apply your rejection items, but you would want to put that in writing.
That's funny, Courtney.
Oh my God. I was like, you know what? I really gotta, and they go,
He was like, I sent it back.
well, they looked for it and they're like, Courtney, you must have signed it. And I go, I swear I didn't. And then they looked and I go, who signed it? And it was because, when they send it to you, when you haven't signed it in a little bit. And I think he thought I just wasn't signing it, but there was a reason for it, but it's okay. I was going to sign it. So it's okay. But I was curious. It made me realize, I was like, I kind of am curious. Like, what
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
It happens.
Yeah, and there's
It
definitely
happens.
there's a lot of custodial things to that you have to be on top of, but in the case
Yeah.
where there's not, you
Yeah.
got it.
All right. Actually, I think, does anyone else have anything they want to? We good?
All good. Nice seeing you all.
No, it's nice seeing you too.
You too.
Have a good vacation week, hopefully.
Yes, you too.
And
All
if
right.
anything comes up, I'll keep you guys posted. If anything comes up, prior to the end of this week about those other pieces, I'll let you know.
All right. All right. Thank you everyone so much. Bye.
Bye.